From the beautiful Missouri Ozarks, it's PID Radio. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert, and we're in our back bedroom, and we welcome you to join us. It's kind of small in here, but we can all fit.
It is, for now, but a day is coming soon.
I know.
Yes.
1,200 square feet.
Exciting update coming on the Build Barn Better project, but first, a quick reminder, please download our app. If you're listening to this on YouTube, God bless you. Subscribe, share with your friends, but then take a moment and download our free app.
Absolutely. You remember that there have been times that certain free places on the internet suddenly say, no, you can't play here anymore.
Right.
That day may be coming on a lot of places.
Right.
Even the ones that we currently think are safe. And I'm not even going to name any. But if you download our app, it is hosted by a Christian company. They understand our viewpoint. They're not going to kick us out. Exactly.
So all of our video and audio content that is available on the web, we're in the process still of transferring all of the older archives, 2010 and that vintage back to the app. But all of the new content is on the app, video, audio, and a new feature that we just took advantage of here within the last couple of weeks, and it's proving to be very, very useful.
Very popular. A lot of folks love to come on there, especially those with prayer requests.
Right. It's called messaging. If you have our app, you'll find the link in the top bar. When you open the app, there's a little icon in the top right corner that looks like two little talk balloons. So if you tap on that, that will take you to the various communities within the messaging system. And there's one set aside for prayer requests, others for the various programs, one that's just announcements. We can let you know what we're doing, where we're going, and things like that. So take advantage of it, because it's a way for us to share things back and forth without having to go through social media, where, again, you're subjecting your information to their scrutiny and perhaps their judgment as to whether or not it's allowable content.
Exactly. A lot of, platforms right now may be deplatforming you at some day and maybe deplatforming us. So join us in a safe space.
Because we're just so radical.
I know.
We're so dangerous.
You and I, seriously, very rarely say anything that could be misconstrued, but somehow algorithms will catch it. So just in case that ever happens, we try our best to remain on Mars Hill, which is what we consider these platforms. But yeah, you're going to support not just us by downloading the app. It's free. But you will also be supporting the creators of the app, Subsplash, Christian company, and every download helps them out too.
They power the apps used by many of our friends. Skywatch TV uses it. L.A. Marzulli, PTL Network, Doug Hamp, Ken Johnson,
I would say just
Casper
about
McLeod.
all the big ones. They're using Subsplash because we're all telling each other, this is how we got our app, and no, we're not coders.
Yes, it's a powerful app, and this new feature, which is built into the app, and I think a lot of churches make use of it because they've got small groups, Bible studies, whatever. They will use it to communicate back and forth, the elders to share messages. It's really helpful in that regard, but we thought, why are we not using this?
I know, I'm so glad.
There it is. So pidradio.com/app or gilberthouse.org/app. Either one will get you to the links to the app stores. It's for iOS, Android, Amazon Kindle, Fire devices.
Roku.
And there's also a Roku version. Now, that doesn't have the interactivity, the interconnectivity. The messaging app is not available on Roku, but it does allow you to take the video content, Unraveling Revelation, View from the Bunker, and put it right on your big screen. So anyway, take advantage of it. It's free, and again, it bypasses the gatekeepers.
It does indeed. Well, speaking of archives, we got this sad news this morning that Daniel Ellsberg has passed. Right. He was 92, I think.
92. He lived a long life. He's best known as the man who leaked what came to be known as the Pentagon Papers to the New York Times, and that disclosed some, things that the Pentagon wanted to be secret, things that had happened in Vietnam, the My Lai massacre in particular.
Yes, indeed. You interviewed him a few years ago. Well, feels like a few. Time is... I don't always get time right. When was it? 2006
or 2007. I will have to go back into my
archives.
Audio archives because I've got it saved. I interviewed him about the war in Iraq, if I remember correctly.
That does sound right.
Yeah. But yeah, about 15 years ago, I had the opportunity to talk to Daniel Ellsberg. And so I will find that, and I will post that as an exclusive to the app.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'll put that up as an exclusive. In fact, I'll set up a new category for audio and video exclusives.
Yes.
Yeah.
App-only exclusives.
Right.
There you go. So we're going to reward you for downloading the app. Speaking of people who have passed on, one of our just dear friends, Sean Chrysagas, has gone to be with the Lord. It was very unexpected. He is an identical twin to Brian Chrysagas, and the two of them great singers. They are well known for hosting a big Legends concert every year with many, many, many of our favorite television actors and actresses, also singers. Look, if you love Christian music, if you love TV that was family-oriented, and all of these folks, believers, very strong believers who would get together and they would put on a show every year in Ohio. And right now, Brian really needs your prayers.
I can't even imagine. I know that surveys show that you can experience no higher stress in your life than losing a spouse, but I just can't imagine that being an identical twin would be a whole lot different from that.
It would be, I think, even worse in some ways, because this is someone that you have known from the womb. Yeah. And the two of them, they're like one unit. So I think Brian feels like he says, I've lost my better half.
Yeah. It feels like he's cast adrift.
Yes. But I know he's got a lot of family and friends. Yeah,
and
he's only
so
50.
Sudden. Yeah, they're in their 50s, but they don't look it.
They don't. I would have guessed 30s.
Yeah, we met them at Morningside a few years ago, and we were shocked to find out they knew who we were, and they were just, we wanted to meet you. And like, what?
I know. And they turned out to be the nicest young men. We were so excited, and we've corresponded with them since then. Wanted to go to the Legends concert this year. You and I had actually looked into the possibilities of it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a big one. They were going to record it in November. I hope they still have it. I do. It's just so many people. You just take a look at, go to Facebook and type in Brian, Brian, Chrysagas, Chriagis.
Chris.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Chrysagas.
Right.
Yes, Sagis.
So, so our prayers are with Brian. They've got an older brother who is now
Anthony.
there. Anthony, is going to spend some time with Brian. And prayers to them. I interviewed the Chrysagas brothers on A View from the Bunker a couple of years ago after we met them, because their story is so remarkable. They weren't supposed to survive childhood. They were bubble babies. They were basically had no immunity to anything.
Right.
They were not supposed to survive.
No, and yet
they did it miraculously. They did.
They did, and they've been serving Jesus their entire lives.
Right.
So we just thank the Lord for them. We know that the Lord has a reason for taking Sean home early. At least it feels early. We all go home exactly when the Lord wants us home.
Exactly. That is the sadness is because we feel that sense of loss.
We do.
And I know that
Brian's is profound.
Sure. And he said that he rejoices for Sean, but it still leaves a hole. It leaves a hole in your own life.
Does.
So
it does. So pray for the Chrysagas family and all of their friends. The memorial service is going to be on the 26th of this month. I think it's a week from Monday, I think. And all the details you can find at Brian Chrysagas's Facebook page. But I've also been sharing it on my Facebook page. And even if you're not my quote-unquote friend on Facebook, because you're only allowed to have so many, the limit is 5,000. Yeah. And I often reach that, and quickly I can't say yes to anybody else. I try to leave a few open just in case someone from my high school days or, a cousin or something requests it, or someone I know really personally, make sure that there's room for them. But I've shared it on my page, and anybody can look at that. So take a look.
Yeah.
And pray for them.
Again, prayers for the Chrysagas family, especially for Brian.
Yes, indeed. Now, total left turn.
Yes.
Total left turn.
Mm-hmm.
We now know with confidence, because it's been announced by a general, that the tracking of Santa Claus at Christmas will continue. I had worried about that. I don't know about you.
Well, sounds to me like there was a turf war going on inside the Pentagon.
There was. Can you believe that Space Force was trying to, take over territory?
Yeah, NORAD is like, no, we've been doing this for 70 years.
I know. Well, you and I have talked about Space Force before, and I've been following. I've even got a category on my news feed that's just for Space Force, and I look at any article that comes from them, any article about them, and they have slowly been taking over all territory.
They're trying to justify their existence. Now, Space Force is the smallest of the military services.
Created by Donald Trump.
And I can see the rationale for Space Force.
I can too.
China, especially, has really made it clear that they have no qualms about weaponizing space.
No, not at all. And by the way, we'll talk a little more about China's secret mission in a minute. But yes, okay. Space Force has been encroaching upon territory for a couple of years now, and they're soldiers, we'll call them that. Many of them are cyber soldiers in that they work in the cyber warfare field. They're called Guardians. And interestingly enough, Space Force wants to now co-opt state reservists and or National Guard and make them Guardians.
I see.
Not of the galaxy. But I think taken. eventually I'm guessing that's what they want. If we ever have a base on the moon, don't get me started on that. But if we ever do, she says, with her eyes rolling, then the Guardians will be up there too.
Mm-hmm. This is an ongoing debate inside the Pentagon. Yes. And a prosthetic eye.
No, he gave that to Thor.
Yeah. No, I don't need it. I just thought it'd be hilarious. Well, interestingly, Politico reported not too long ago that the top general, this was just a month ago in mid-May, Chief of Space Operations General Chance Saltzman was interviewed about what the Space Force does. And he said, quote, "I have some concerns with our current mission statement. My biggest concern is that the mission statement does not reflect why this nation has a Space Force and the vital functions Guardians perform." So, in other words, he's saying, I don't really know what we're supposed to do. Track Santa? Apparently not. NORAD says, no, that's our job.
Hey, let's give him a Spotify podcast.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, and then there was a lieutenant general with the Space Force who was just interviewed a few days ago no, I don't want to go down that rabbit trail. It has to do with Pride Month and
no, don't go down there.
Yeah, no. It's like NASA saying that NASA's mission was to basically be more inclusive.
Islam.
Appease Islam. Essentially, it's the same sort of thing. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Using the character, I forget the character's name, played by Ron Perlman in the second Alien movie.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, yes.
Break things and hurt people.
Yes, that's his job.
I'm sorry, but at its very most basic and crudely defined function, that is the role of the military. Mm-hmm. Break things and hurt people.
Yes, sadly it is, because the enemy is composed mainly of people.
Yeah.
More and more algorithms and machines are taking over that field. Which is one of the reasons the Space Force was created.
Right.
To make sure that satellites aren't weaponized in space, which is the kind of thing that we think China may be doing.
Yeah, because there's been some rather disturbing, and I don't know if this weapon actually exists, but there's some people who believe that it does exist, a weapon that has been dubbed the Rod of God, which is the potential damage that could be caused by dropping a telephone pole-sized rod of titanium from space, because it would re-enter the atmosphere at such a speed that no missile defense system could take it down. And even though there's no explosive on it, the kinetic energy that it builds on re-entry would leave a nuclear-type detonation, essentially, when it hit its target. So do we want something like that raining down on us? No, I don't think so. So, yeah, making sure that the Earth is secure. The question is, and again, this gets into the realm of speculation, are there militaries around the world developing space-based weaponry because they think somehow they're going to defend the Earth from the Messiah when he returns in the clouds of great glory?
That is a really good question.
Yeah.
I mentioned China and having things in space, but also secret missions that we as the United States have been involved in. One of the things that China has done is the Shenlong. It is a space plane. Mm-hmm. Remember our X-37B?
X-37B,
this one is like that.
Huh.
There have been two test flights of the Shenlong, which, by the way, means divine dragon.
Okay.
Yes. Two test flights. The second one, they spent 276 days in orbit. This is an unmanned mission space plane that is guided up into our geocentric space, and then it does something and then lands. Mm-hmm. Now, our X-37B landed on its own. It was programmed, and it landed on its own this time. So it is now being floated in the interwebs news sites that the X-37B may actually be given a payload next time.
Well, the Russians, Popular Mechanics reported a couple of years ago that the Russians believe the X-37B is a bomber.
Well, I've wondered, remember, you and I have been talking about this for years.
Right.
The mystery plane that goes up and it goes around the Earth for days and days and days, sometimes over a year, and then it comes down and then it gets out of the news. Then suddenly, a year or two later, it's in the news again.
And the Pentagon never comments on what it is or what it's been doing.
Right. Well, the Shenlong is the same way, only from China.
Well, that's not surprising. I think that this is why having a Pentagon program to investigate anomalous aerospace artifacts or objects is not a bad idea. I do not believe, because this has been a big thing over the past, as long as we're talking about space, over the past couple of weeks, the alleged whistleblower, Daniel Grush.
Yes, exactly.
Has come forward with what is purported to be information that the United States military has captured a number of extraterrestrial craft. His attorney, Daniel Sheehan, who's been he's well known in UFO, UAP circles for years, told the Daily Mail this past week that the United States military recovered a craft, and this made me laugh when I read about it, that crashed into the Earth, was half buried in the Earth. The craft was reportedly a disc of about 30-foot diameter, but when the investigator went inside, it was as big as a football stadium.
Yeah, the TARDIS.
The TARDIS, yeah, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Like, please. But then when the Mail kind of probed a little bit more, Sheehan admitted he didn't know where or when it happened, had no evidence of it. It was just something he'd heard about.
He'd heard, exactly.
Grush admits. He didn't actually see or know specifically firsthand about any of this stuff. It's all hearsay evidence, which is being floated out there. But what's interesting is that it's been pretty much ignored. But an investigative journalist for the New York Post named Stephen Greenstreet has been digging into this for a couple of years. And a couple of years ago, he came out with a series of articles and podcasts. His podcast, which is a video cast, is called From the Basement Office.
Isn't it interesting what used to be called vidcasting is now just podcasting?
Yeah. It comes from the name iPod, which did not have video capability, at least not at first. Anyway, he disclosed, or Greenstreet found, rather, that this program that Lou Elizondo, the former Defense Intelligence Agency officer, was supposed to have headed up, called ATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, never existed. Did not exist. It never was. There was another program, however, called the Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Applications Program, AWSAP. This was the result of a scientist at the Defense Intelligence Agency reading a book about Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah. Owned by Robert Bigelow, longtime UFO true believer.
Bigelow of Bigelow Space?
Bigelow Aerospace, right? Yeah. And a personal friend of former Nevada Senator Harry Reid. Well,
Bigelow he's very tight with the military-industrial complex.
He is. And he formerly funded the, what do they call it, NIDS, National,
Can't think of it.
I can't think of it either. Yeah. It was a group that investigated, like MUFON. They went out and investigated UFO reports. Anyway, so this scientist went to, or asked Bigelow if he could go to Skinwalker Ranch, and Bigelow said okay, and he went there and claimed that he saw weird things, strange light in the sky, and this other stuff. So then he went to Harry Reid and said, can we get funding to investigate this stuff? Well, they wrote the application so that it didn't appear to the Pentagon when they were evaluating the $22 million that they allotted and then awarded to, guess who, Robert Bigelow, that they were going to be doing anything other than developing advanced aerospace weapons system applications. Hence the name of the program.
Yes.
But then when they started getting reports from Skinwalker Ranch on things like ghosts and werewolves, the Pentagon was like, wait a minute, what are we doing? And so they decided they were going to kill the program. Well, Reid, who is really curious about UFOs, wanted to keep the program going. So he wrote, as a last-ditch effort to save OSAP, he sent a letter to the Pentagon. But because the name, according to Greenstreet, the name OSAP had become toxic inside the Pentagon, kind of a joke, a laughingstock, he changed the name and gave it the name the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP, and hence that name was born.
He may as well have just called it Retcon, Reid E.T. Con.
Yes, exactly. We're resetting history. This never happened. And if you say you saw anything other than the planet Venus, you're a dead man. Pentagon didn't buy it. They killed the program in 2012. So fast forward to 2017. Journalist and UFO true believers, Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, pitch an article to the New York Times about this secret Pentagon program called ATIP. And we've got the guy who headed it up. Now, Elizondo resigned from the Defense Intelligence Agency in October of 2017. In December, he's out there saying, yes, we've got all of this information. This is what we were doing. And here's this video.
But resigned in air quotes.
Yes. You never leave the agency.
No, you don't.
And that Tic Tac video suddenly went viral, and it was on all the corporate media sites. Tucker Carlson, God bless him, I agree with him about a lot of stuff, but on his new Tucker on Twitter program, criticized the media for not giving this enough attention.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrial life.
I like Tucker a lot.
I really do. But I think he's wrong about this, because the professional observers...
Sorry, I'm going to have to go get some water in a minute. Keep talking.
Like Lieutenant Commander David Fravor, the F-18 pilot from the Nimitz back in 2004, the radar operator on the Nimitz, the radar operator on the USS Princeton. They saw something, for sure.
They did.
Absolutely.
Fact, one of them, in fact, I think two of them, were saying that they still suffer from terrible nightmares now.
Yes.
Where these demonic entities are trying to get them.
Yeah. So what is it? The point is this. Just because they could not identify what it was that they saw, and it did move in ways that the aircraft that we know about cannot move, much, much faster than the SR-71 Blackbird, it does not automatically follow that it's extraterrestrial. It could be a secret government program, or it could be, as Jacques Vallée, UFO researcher, has postulated, interdimensional.
Yes. So, we're hearing that phrase more and more, that it may not be from another planet, but another dimension or another part of our reality. The question is, why now?
That is the question. And I wrote an article for Skywatch TV's magazine back in 2020, I think, about this, because when I started digging into the story as it was really getting traction about 2 years in, I found that people who are really serious UFO researchers had known about the USS Nimitz incident since at least 2007. And in fact, that Tic Tac video, that, the big reveal, smuggled out of the Pentagon, this video. No, it's been on YouTube for 10 years. Except around 2014, according to some of the guys involved in the incident, contacted by, there was an author for a news site on the web called Fighter Sweep. It's written by and for fighter pilots. And this fellow was contacting some guys because he'd heard the story years ago, and he wanted to contact guys involved in the story to refresh his memory. And the guy said, yeah, sometime around 2014, guys from a 3-letter agency came around and were telling us, if you say you saw anything other than the planet, basically, yeah. And suddenly
that's a line from the X-Files, by the way.
Right. Spoken by Jesse the Body Ventura as a man in black.
Yeah.
Brilliant role. The other one was Alex
Trebek.
Yeah.
I know, it was
You're getting
brilliant.
Sleepy. Anyway, so it had been known that this information had been out there, and now suddenly it was presented to the wider public as a leak from the Pentagon. And oh my gosh, the Pentagon is now officially recognizing that UFOs exist. Well, no, the intelligence community is guiding the narrative.
Speaking of the X-Files, I think that is a brilliant way to look at all of this. If you've never seen the X-Files, there are a few episodes you really need to see. Bottom line is that Chris Carter was showing the inside track through the lens of 2 FBI agents to extra-dimensional, extra-perceptional, whatever you want to call it, phenomena that were in a file called the X-Files because nobody could explain it. So we're just going to put them over here. And they were all, supernatural in nature. Well, they investigated these, and then there was clearly a visitation by another species, at least one, that you learn about. And there's a cover-up, and the agents want to find out the truth. And then later on in the seasons, it's retconned. Yep. No, this didn't occur then. The organization that sort of accompanied this and also followed it, called Millennium Group, which is in another Carter show called Millennium, appropriately, that none of that happened. And so this is the spin. This is a cover. And then you find out, no, there's a cover over the cover.
Right.
There are layers upon layers upon layers, and that is the way the fallen realm works.
Yeah. They'll throw multiple blinds at us. It's like throwing sand in your opponent's eyes when you're in the middle of a fight. So they can't see, and what they see is distorted and doubled. Yeah. And that is exactly what's going on. And that was the point Josh Peck and I made in our book, The Day the Earth Stands Still, which was published just a week before the New York Times published Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal's article.
Well, thank you, Lord. That's good timing.
It's just that we didn't have a chance to address that in the book. So, an update with a chapter devoted to this story would probably be worthwhile. But I direct you to the New York Post and The Basement Office by Stephen Greenstreet, because he's really broken this down and lays it all out. It is an intelligence op, just as every major UFO flap going back to Roswell has been an intelligence op. There's always somebody from the CIA, the DIA, the FBI. It's really astonishing. So this essentially, what's been going on the last couple of weeks with Grush is like Disclosure 2.0. We thought we disclosed back in 2017, but it's not taking, so we need to try another tack with a different guy.
I watched the Grush interview, and at least I think I watched most of it, and really was carefully listening to the words he chose as well as observing his body language. And he has learned to avoid certain tells that reveal you're lying. But his language is very careful. He makes sure that he does not say, I saw it with my own eyes. He talks about how he's seen documents, he's talked to individuals. Nearly everything he is revealing is hearsay. Yeah, he admits, I don't know, I don't have this evidence. And no, I didn't actually see any of this stuff. But I heard from a guy who... Right.
Yeah.
But it makes it seem like we've got a genuine whistleblower coming out and revealing the truth. No, the truth, capital T truth, is out there. It really is. And you can read about that truth in the pages of the Bible.
Amen to that. Well, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about synthetic embryos and what that implies for humanity. Straight ahead on PID Radio. We've recorded a lot of video over the last 8 years, and we're truly thankful that so many of you have been blessed by our teachings, presentations, our travel augmentaries of our tours through Israel. But sending videos to other parts of the world can get expensive. So we've now made all of our video content available on demand. Stream our video in full HD with instant access at gilberthouse.org/video. And during the months of May and June, you can save 20% with promo code VIDEO20 at checkout. That's VIDEO20. Video on demand for as little as $3 for 7 days access and 20% off with promo code VIDEO20. But if you prefer DVDs, that promo code works for you too. Log on to gilberthouse.org/store, use VIDEO20 at checkout, and save 20% on all DVDs. 20% off all streaming video and DVDs with promo code VIDEO20 at gilberthouse.org. Welcome back to PID Radio. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert. We are so glad that you are listening to us again today. You know, sometime soon, once we get the barn done, we may actually be recording this video of PID Radio.
We've actually had people who requested it, and I
Look, I say, because we plan on setting up a podcast station out there anyway, so I say just set up a little camera, and look, if you guys want to, I may not even wear any makeup, so there.
Well,
deal with it.
I'm going to go on the record right now and say that I will not wear makeup.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So glad to hear that. I only put on makeup if I really, really have to.
Yes. Well, the Build Barn Better project is taking shape.
Along.
Yes.
It really is. We had the Flora guy out here. Wonderful young man.
Mm-hmm. Locally owned company based out of Springfield, Missouri. Mm-hmm. They do epoxy floor coatings. So we're going to have them come out in July. They will. That'll be really stage one.
July 19th.
Yeah, they're going to grind down the floor and then put down the epoxy. Takes about a day. It will have a kind of a flake coating to it, and
so it looks sort of sparkly.
Yeah, and so it'll look nice, but it's also going to be very durable. It's got a 15-year warranty on it, so that will because I will be out there. I'll be out there with the office chair. Can I roll my office chair on it? Is this no? Absolutely.
He said we can drive the car in if we want to, which we don't plan on doing it. But you can even drag things that are sort of metallic across it, and it won't hurt. He said if anything happens,
sharp, and you're scraping it. But they've got big at their shop. They've got big tool chests on wheels that they roll back and forth without any damage. So that is step one. Our contractor who is going to replace the windows, repair the wall panels that have got holes in them from the previous owner with various things. Their air conditioner and propane heater. We need to cover those up, obviously, because we don't want water getting inside the building.
Right.
That will begin the last week of July.
Mm-hmm. So the electrics and the panels and the two windows will go in, and then we'll bring in the insulation guy who just said, give me 2 weeks notice and we'll get you on the schedule. So we're in good shape. I'm thinking by mid-September, late September, everything should be done in there. We'll have our studio set up. It'll be wonderful, and it's all because of you.
Absolutely. Your support has helped make this possible. If we
could never have done it, we would have had to take out a loan, and I don't want to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been in situations before. We've done that. Hey, we've got equity in the house. Let's take care of these other debts. And then, of course, the real estate market went kablooey back in 2006. And
it did.
We're not going through that. We're not going there again.
No, not at all. So thank you. You can go to gilberthouse.org/donate if the Lord says, I want you to give $1 or $2 to this. Every dollar helps. Trust me. Yeah. Every dollar helps.
And we're working to do this as wisely as possible. When it comes time to actually build the sets, we're not building walls. We're not going to build platforms. We're actually going to go hit flea markets for the set.
I've got so many ideas. I've been looking at, because we've got in Crane, which is nearby, we've got all sorts of little flea market places. Another town called Billings has them.
Right, yeah.
So many little towns around here have really realized that the antique market is a big business opportunity. So just get some stalls put in there, charge people for their stalls, and they do the selling. So it's a really great opportunity.
And we've got already furniture in the house. We've got the set that's in our family room we got from one of the flea markets.
We did. Most of our house is secondhand except for the computers.
Yeah.
Those we buy new.
Yeah, that is the one area where we don't... And even there, we don't go top of the line.
We don't.
We do what we do with Mac Minis.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We do. So thank you again. This is all because of your help.
Amen.
Howdy.
Yeah.
This just came in. while I was getting some water.
Yes, literally, this is breaking news, and obviously this is not a format where we normally do this, but it's really bizarre. You went out for water during the little promo break there, and we got news from Fox that the FBI and the KBI, which is the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, are looking into more than 70.
Yeah.
But it's interesting they use that number, 70. You see,
it was originally 30 in this first story, but as time is going by, they're finding out about more of them.
Right. More than 70 letters containing suspicious white powder sent to Kansas officials across the state. This was reported to the FBI and the KBI Friday afternoon. Now, we're recording this on Saturday morning. So
right. I'm looking at the Fox story now.
The story is now just coming out on the corporate media. They don't know what the powder is yet, or if they do know, they've not released that information yet. Republican State Attorney General Chris Kobach, other Republican lawmakers among those who received the letters. This reported by the Kansas City Star. But the KBI has declined to answer specific questions. At this point, they're collecting the letters, but they've not released any information. Presumably, it's still so early, they've not done any of the testing yet.
Well, we all remember 2001 when those suspicious letters with the white powder were going to legislators in Washington. And then they were randomly going to people throughout the country.
Yeah, and some of those were found to contain
anthrax.
Yes.
Yeah. Military grade.
Military
Finally
grade.
milled.
Right, which was really disturbing because there are not very many laboratories
with that capability.
With that capability, and one of them is at Fort Detrick, Maryland. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, this breaking. This will be a story that will develop over the course of the coming week. But story this past week that came out, which was really interesting because it the way it was presented, the Daily Mail in the UK, which is for all of the stuff that they put in the right-hand sidebar at their website, Kim Kardashian shows off her toned tummy.
I just used the app to watch it, and I don't
ignore that. They actually do better investigative journalism than any of the American sites. Washington Post, New York Times, where are you on most of these stories that they've broken?
The Mail is still running stories on Hunter Biden. Another one was this morning that I
which the corporate media here, except maybe for the New York Post and occasionally... Yeah, but New York Post. I mean, even Fox News really isn't touching that story much. But the Daily Mail is still going after it. Anyway, they reported this past week that researchers from Cambridge and Caltech, California Institute of Technology, have announced that they have created artificial embryos without using human eggs or sperm.
Well, they use stem cells.
Right.
So they did start with God's dirt.
They did. Yes, they did not. When they say artificial, it's not, we started with creating our own, elements and then atoms.
No, the Lord says get your own dirt. But they are using stem cells, and they are forcing them through bathing with particular hormones that they can get them to differentiate into egg and sperm.
Mm-hmm. This is really understated in the headline. Development poses huge ethical dilemmas. Yeah, you think?
Yeah. Make that writ large huge. It is a very, very disturbing idea. A few years back, early in the days, I think it was before you and I even moved out here to Missouri, that there was a scientist who was Chinese who was claiming that he had created a clone by taking skin cells, human skin cells, turning them into stem cells, pluripotent stem cells, which means that they have the ability to become whatever you want them to, depending upon what signals the cells receive through hormones. He claimed that he created a clone and grew it to, I think, maturity, he was claiming.
Yes, he claimed.
He ended up getting censured in China for that. Only recently was he essentially brought back into the fold.
Allowed out of the prison camp.
Censoring in China doesn't mean that you don't get to talk anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a little more strict than that. Yeah. So the question is, now they claim that these embryos didn't show the development of brains or a beating heart or anything.
They killed them at 14 weeks is what they're claiming. 14 days is what they're claiming.
Right. But these embryos they say only show the beginnings of developing the yolk sac and the placenta. Mm-hmm. So nothing that would develop into human.
Right.
And yes, they claim that they adhered to the ethical standards that have been developed for cloned embryos in the lab, and we don't let them go beyond 14 days officially.
Yeah.
We have to say.
But here's the thing. If the day ever comes, and we don't know exactly what stage this science has reached, because it's been around for a couple of decades, so that we know of, that I know of, that I've read about. This was talked about when I was at IU, which was over 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. If that capability exists and you allowed the embryo to fully mature in an artificial womb or even in a surrogate, what would be the source of the soul? That's
the question that I asked when I tweeted out this story. An embryo created the normal way, even if it's in vitro fertilization, where you're using an egg and a sperm. Mm-hmm. You still have a mother and a father in terms of the donors of the genetic material.
Yes.
But here, if you're creating something from a skin cell, or as in this case, just took a stem cell and then tricked it into becoming what appeared to be the beginning of an empty egg, or what an empty, I don't know, embryo, no brain, no heart. What do you call that? But should it develop into something where you would actually have a viable child, where does the soul, where does the spirit come from?
Well, precisely. Those of us who have followed our studies, the late Dr. Michael Heiser's studies, many of us who are looking at, those of us in the milieu, we have been talking about the origin of demons. You guys just recently talked about this in Angelic Hierarchies on Iron and Myth. Mm-hmm. And the idea that the demons who are inhabiting the world today and causing mischief, they are the children. They are what's left of the children of the Watchers who came down and cohabited with human women. Mm-hmm. They created offspring that were never meant to be. Correct, they were miscegenations. Right. The Lord did not approve. I don't believe these demons came from any legal source regarding their, if you want to call it their souls, these spirits that are roaming the earth, these demonic entities. Mm-hmm. So somehow the Watchers had a capability of instilling their own Ruach, this fallen, false Holy Spirit origin into these offspring. Because the Lord, when he created Adam, he breathed into him. That spirit, that soul, whatever you want to call it.
Right. And that's been passed down generation to generation.
Even the animals that the Lord created, we're told in the Bible, they have his ruach, his breath.
We're created with the same ruach.
Yeah, the difference between us and animals is that we are God's imagers. We were given dominion of this earth. And then Adam gave it up to Satan. Mm-hmm. Satan is now the prince of this world.
The book of First Enoch describes the spirits of these half-breeds, and that's how they're referred to specifically, that term in the original language. Mm-hmm. And we don't have the original Hebrew anymore, but Greek and Ge'ez, which is the Ethiopian language, Syriac, some others. But they are literally called half-breeds, and their spirits were condemned to wander the earth. Let's see. Here we go.
Now, this is taking quite a turn from the first, but in a way, this is related to the whole alien discussion at the top of the.
Well, it kind of is. It kind of is. Well, I'm not finding the verse that I wanted to find very quickly. So rather than drag it out while I keep searching.
I was going to say you can always edit it. Just go ahead and find it. Just let it keep going. You can edit it.
I'm just making a note of what time it was here. Let's see.
I'll just dance. Mighty fine, mighty fine. The old road hog.
Where was that?
What is it you're looking for?
Oh, here we go. Got it. Okay. First Enoch, which is not in the Bible, but many of the concepts in First Enoch show up in the New Testament.
Yeah.
Which is telling. And there are those who will object and say, well, it's not in the Bible, so we should ignore it. And when we point out that, there are concepts that Peter and Jude specifically, Jude quotes Enoch 1 verse 9.
These are books that the disciples might have read.
Yeah.
I love the way Mike Kaiser puts it.
Yeah. Hey,
here's
guess
a
what?
Newsflash.
The apostles read books. And Jesus validated it by the use of the term the Son of Man.
Right.
We're not saying that Jesus got the idea from Enoch. We're suggesting that the authors of the book of Enoch, which was multiple authors over a couple hundred years, may have received some divine revelation, or they may have been really serious religious scholars who, studying the writings of the prophets, were able to discern things that were not written down in the Old Testament.
Yes, but they were also writing down some traditions.
Yes.
That had been passed down orally. And
it helps to understand what Jewish religious scholars in the time of Jesus thought about the Old Testament. So that's why we look at this. But and it's clear that the early church had pretty high opinion of First Enoch, even though it's not in the Bible, because their understanding of the origin of demons, demonology, comes right out of First Enoch. And in First Enoch 15, beginning at verse 8, but now the giants who were begotten by the spirits and flesh, they will call them evil spirits on the earth, for their dwelling will be on the earth. The spirits that have gone forth from the body of their flesh are evil spirits, for from humans they came into being, and from the holy watchers was the origin of their creation. Evil spirits they will be on the earth, and evil spirits they will be called. The spirits of heaven, in heaven is their dwelling, but the spirits begotten on the earth is their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants lead astray, do violence, make desolate, and attack and wrestle and hurl upon the earth and cause illnesses. They eat nothing but abstain from food and are thirsty and smite. These spirits will rise up against the sons of men and against the women, for they have come forth from them. From the day of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, flood of Noah, from the soul of whose flesh the spirits are proceeding, they are making desolate without incurring judgment. In other words, this is a punishment on humanity as well as on them. They will make desolate until the day of the consummation of the great judgment, when the great age will be consummated. In other words, demons will be with us until Jesus comes back and puts an end to the whole thing.
Well, it depends on how you define the great age. It may be at the end of the millennial reign.
Could be. Good point. But the bottom line is, this was the understanding of the early church, and clearly it is...
They're here.
Yeah, and it was the understanding, too, when you look at the Septuagint, and you see verses like in Ezekiel 32, the polemic against the king of Egypt, and you compare that with our English translation. You read the chiefs of the mighty chiefs are in the midst of Sheol, and you see in the Septuagint, it's clear they're talking about the giants destroyed in the flood.
Yes.
So you have to piece it together. It's not explicit, but it's probably because the people reading in the days of Ezekiel and Isaiah and in the first century, they already knew all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. It was shorthand speak to them.
We don't need to go back over all of this.
Like
you already know
law.
this stuff. Yeah, exactly. And Rotful.
Even that now is such an old one. What? What is that one?
And now we just do it with emojis.
Oh, exactly.
Spelling out Rotful,
that's
too
hard.
My
thumbs are going to hurt.
Yeah. So anyway, will the artificial embryos, if they're allowed to gestate fully, and again, I'll repeat that in the Daily Mail article, they said that no, there was nothing like a brain or a heart or anything. There was no developing baby in there. It was just the egg sac and the yolk, and the egg sac and the placenta.
Right.
But that's what they're telling us. What's going on inside a lab for...
We have no idea. We do know that the daddies have promised, at least I think that's what we can glean from all the resources, that the daddies, the watchers, promise their kids they're going to rise up again. There are verses in the Old Testament that imply that they're going to get their big old giant powerful bodies back.
Right.
Right now, if they work through a human being, we're pretty weenie. Mm-hmm. Even though demonic possession has been known to cause very strange behavior in human beings, like crawling up a wall.
Yeah, and extreme strength.
Yes.
The late Russ Dizdar told us about a lady who was all of 5 feet tall, throwing a big 220-pound guy across the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you can only make our muscle mass do so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's extraordinary. But you're not going to be able to go over and lift up a car and things like that.
Right.
And you're not going to have a voracious appetite, which is what they will have if they ever get back into bodies. So this may be the fallen realm helping humans to think they're doing something good, when in fact it's not.
Yeah. It's, of course, it's the justification that we got for embryonic stem cell research, which is this is helping us to understand genetic disease and how we can cure it.
Yes, but understand that the Chinese scientist did not use embryonic stem cells. He did not take these from an aborted fetus. He used skin cells off a human adult.
And turned that into what
he
claimed.
A pluripotent cell. And there are lots of labs that are working on doing that very thing because why? Using fetal stem cells doesn't work. It always leads to cancer. Always.
Yeah. Which is why there have been none of those miracle cures that were promised back in 2006.
Exactly. They're now trying to harvest stem cells from you and use that to create a specific cancer remedy.
And given that that's the case, then it would suggest that there's perhaps another point, a purpose in embryonic stem cell research. Fit extensions?
No, I think so. I think Tom Horn would agree with that.
Yeah. And what we mean by that, that's a phrase that Tom Horn has used to...
It's in...
Genesis 6.
Is it actually in Genesis 6?
Well,
it refers to that event.
Yeah, it's a definition in to one of the original Hebrew words there in Genesis 6, I think verse 4. That anyway, the term Tom coined, fit extension, meaning essentially a host for a spirit. And our question is, and this is speculative, but is it possible that this research is eventually pointing toward creating soulless, meat suits for the demonic spirits of the giants?
Yes, I think so. And in fact, I think a lot of the cybernetic research is aimed at whether the humans involved know or not, that those will, especially if they are bioelectric. In other words, some of these are being given humanoid brains. And I say the oid part because they're taking these cells from our brains or nerve cells that are from sometimes an embryo, and they grow them to create these. They're these little mini brains that are used supposedly to test pharmaceuticals.
Cerebral organoid is the way they're called. Supposedly, it's an artificially grown miniature organ resembling the brain used in laboratory research to test the effects of certain drugs on the brain without actually having to give it to a human and see what it does to the brain.
Research is showing that imitating the human brain, even though we're told, we're so limited compared to an artificial intelligence, the fact is the AIs can't do the multitasking that we do.
Right.
They're trying to solve that problem by making a sort of a hybrid. So, cybernetic, biocybernetic.
Yeah. And if a human brain bioelectrical device can be possessed by a demon, what about an AI, especially one that's a merger, a blend of human and tech?
Yes, it's getting back to that prophecy of the various parts of the statue and the toes made of miry clay and iron, and they shall not cleave to one another. It implies that there's something beyond humanity involved.
That leads to another interesting story that came out this past week. An advisor to Klaus Schwab.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Yuval Noah Harari. If you've not heard of him, you should at least be aware of him. He's presented as a historian and philosopher, an Israeli. He's an atheist, and he believes that we are the highest form of life, humanity that is, which by definition means that if there's no one above us, then we might as well be gods, and we might as well use technology to achieve virtual godhood.
Yeah.
What makes him a dangerous thinker? He's not as good a historian or philosopher as he is made out to be. He makes leaps of logic to draw connections about human history. I've not read his book, don't plan to, but the criticisms I've read of his work is that he's scratching itching ears by appealing to those who have a certain intellectual pride, and I certainly have been guilty of that in the past.
We all do at some point or another.
And so, somebody comes along and says, we are the highest form of life that is. And so we have a moral imperative to extend our lifespans radically, to become virtually immortal and create a heaven here on earth. That is our moral imperative. Okay, that's really appealing to a lot of people who are so smart that they cannot rationalize in their own minds God, the concept of God, who is by definition way bigger and than us and incomprehensible. But when you reach a certain level of intelligence, you think, well, if I can't understand it, then it doesn't make any sense, so it can't be. And you reject it, which is why you get some really, really smart people who make really bad decisions when it comes to the only question that really matters: who do you say that I am? The question that Jesus asked Peter at Caesarea Philippi. Well, Harari said this week that artificial intelligence may be able of writing a holy text, a new Bible. He now I'm not sure. I've seen this story in the Christian Post. I've also seen it in secular media, and they seem to have different takes on what he said.
Yeah, I've seen some people trying to debunk it.
Yeah. Christian Post claims that Harari said that AI can create new ideas. It can even write a new Bible, and that it might create a new holy book that is actually correct. In a few years, I'm quoting according to the Christian Post, in a few years there might be religions that are actually correct. Of course, which is his way of saying that Judaism and Islam and Christianity and Buddhism, etc., are all, based on myths and fables.
Why are you calling yourself a Jew again?
Yeah. Just think about a religion whose holy book is written by an AI. That could be a reality in a few years. Now, did he mean then that an AI authored holy book would be actually correct, or, as it's been portrayed in secular media, him warning about an artificial intelligence writing a holy book that was so convincing, a deception so convincing that even the elect might be deceived if it were possible.
The great delusion.
And that an AI might create a new religion that appears to be correct and then convinces its followers to start, killing all the non-believers.
Right.
So I'm not sure which version of the story is true, but I think the point that's worth noting here is that we've already seen religions, like the former Google engineer who founded his, what did he call it? I forget what it was. Anyway, essentially Church of the Mainframe, worshiping an artificial intelligence.
Exactly. Well, that's a Doctor Who thing. You need to watch those shows. He is quoted as saying, we have the power. We have the power to create new life forms and destroy much of life on Earth, including ourselves. He's written a book that I recommend called Homo Deus. Mm-hmm. I have that, I think, in our Kindle library. A Brief History of Tomorrow. That's the title of it. Ah. Yes, indeed. Well, he has been quoted as saying a number of things, even saying the atomic bomb cannot decide which city to bomb. You always need a human to make the decision. But AI could be the first technology to make those decisions. And they may even make decisions about us.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Like that Harlan Ellison story, I have no mouth and I must scream.
Exactly.
Or the Terminator movies.
Exactly.
Or the Borg. Or the Cybermen.
You can name just about any of these. Yeah. The idea that our own creation will rebel against us. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. That's happened before, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Well, the reason that Harari is worth paying attention to is because he's got the ear of Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, and the fourth industrial revolution, which is just a fancy way of saying transhumanism, the idea that we shall be as gods through technology, is a key part of the hashtag Great Reset.
Right.
Build back Babel.
Hey, speaking of that kind of thing, did you know that Blackstone has purchased Ancestry.com? Blackstone is one of those companies that really sort of flies under the radar. BlackRock is another one. Blackstone is actually one of the mystery cults in the Red Wing saga.
Lords of the Blackstone.
Yeah, I had no idea that they were going to, there was an actual Blackstone. In fact, I think at the time I looked it up and couldn't find one.
And that's really interesting because going back to, as you know, going back to the ancient Near East and the Mediterranean world, going back to the Bronze Age, meteorites, usually black stones, were worshipped as sacred items. The god lives in the black stone.
That's exactly what the purpose of that cult is.
But even you go to the 1940s, and that's it's a Nazi thing.
I know. Well, that's kind of creepy. But yes, Blackstone has purchased Ancestry, and that means that they have access and ownership of 30 million plus DNA profiles.
Yep.
Because a lot of folks sent their DNA to Ancestry to find out what they are and to whom they are related.
Yeah. The CEO of Blackstone said, well, no, it's got, what did he call it? A runway for significant growth, because as the baby boom generation, and you and I both fall into that, are getting older, we're finding ourselves more interested about where our ancestors came from. And so Ancestry.com is showing a lot of growth. No. The runway for growth there is in that DNA data, which would be very, very useful to pharmaceutical companies, to law enforcement agencies.
It's already been used for that.
Insurance companies. Oh, yeah. Well, we'd like to insure you for life insurance, but we see you've got markers in there for this, that, or the other. So
yes, but here's another thought. State of California is still floating the idea of reparations. We're going to pay you because you're related to someone who was oppressed back hundreds of years ago.
Back in Tickety-2.
But you have to prove it.
Yeah. Okay. And that really raises some interesting questions, too. It's like, okay, what percentage, how many gene markers do you need to be able to prove your ancestry?
Yeah. Well, I've got like a great-grandfather, great-great-great-uncle, whatever he would be, Stuffley.
Yeah.
He was listed in the census as either a mulatto or a Melungi. We don't know which. So maybe that's why I tan so well.
Well, there you go.
I know.
You owe yourself reparations.
I pay myself some money.
Yeah. Well, that is where it's leading. But certainly BlackRock didn't do this because they think they're going to make a profit off of people doing genealogical research. The DNA data is what's... And this is why we've never done 23andMe or Ancestry.com with the DNA stuff. It would be interesting to know, but if I ever gave my DNA to a lab to check that out, I would want to know that they were trustworthy and destroyed the sample after getting the results and gave me the only copy.
And gave you correct results.
And gave me correct results. Yeah, there are a lot of people who are getting all excited about stuff. It's like my uncle, God bless him, my dad's oldest brother, Eddie. My dad once said later, well, we don't talk about Eddie. He sent off and had researched the family name Gilbert. And he got back this long thing. It was like, look, there's a family crest. It's got two squirrels on the top holding acorns. And my dad laughed. He said, yeah, that's about right. Forgetting that the family name until the 1870s was Gilberg.
Yeah.
We're Swedish, at least on that side of the family. And it was changed at Ellis Island or something. But we've even I found now through Ancestry.com, ironically, that the guy who came over brought his family. Elias Gilberg was still called Gilberg after getting here to the United States. So Uncle Eddie, God bless him, spent the money. The company that sent back the information was happy to take his money and send him like something already. Go to the Gilbert file, send him one of those. And
you can order a shield, a copy of it here.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And the same thing holds true, I imagine, for people who are getting DNA results. How do you know?
You don't.
How do you know?
You really, really don't.
But
if you've done it, look, what's done is done. Don't worry about that.
Well, yeah, because they claim and they look legit. We get it. We get it. We're just a little skeptical about stuff like that because we're old and crotchety. And we're... Yeah. And the potential for abuse is there.
Yes.
And again, BlackRock, which is one of the big investment companies, spending billions of dollars to acquire a genealogy research company?
No, it's Blackstone that bought it.
Blackstone? Blackstone, yeah. BlackRock is the big one, yes.
Yeah, BlackRock, all one word usually, but the R is usually capitalized if it's merged together. That is a company to watch because it is the secret puppet master behind a lot of behavior within corporations now. It's demanding that big corporations that frankly, they own their stock. Mm-hmm. We are telling our investors that you're a good bet. If you want to stay a good bet.
Right. And because they buy a lot of stock, they get seats on the board of directors where they can cast votes and really pressure these companies. So even though, and we're not going to go down this rabbit trail, but you're aware that there are companies out here who have made some really bad decisions to cater to a small percentage of the population. And the public's like, we don't want to be associated with that. So literally tens of billions of dollars of value wiped off the books of several large corporations. But the reason they're doing this, even though their customers are not buying it, is because not just BlackRock, but State Street and Vanguard, the three biggest investment banks in the United States, are pushing corporations to get on board with this diversity, equity, inclusion agenda. It's not about making money. It's about promoting, a religion.
They have to hire a DEI specialist within the company to make sure all of these little check boxes are checked.
Yeah. So why do it when the saying, get woke, go broke, is proven out time and again? It's because it's not about making money. It's about pushing a religion. Mm-hmm. So
that is true.
Just keep watching for that.
Well, that'll get us kicked off.
Yeah, probably. Well, we got a couple things to tell you about. Our good friend Aaron Lipkin is coming to the States.
Yay!
And he will be with us on July 25th at Morningside.
Yes, that's down in Blue Eye, Missouri. And if you just type in Morningside, Blue Eye, Missouri, you'll be able to get any of your mapping apps will take you right there, right through the door.
Or go to our app, go to the More tab, and then click the little link for upcoming events, and that will take you to our calendar. You can also go to our website, gilberthouse.org, and look at the calendar there, because when you click on that link, it brings up a map. Yes, you can map it right from our website. Again, thanks to Subsplash and the functionality of that app. They've got embeds that I can take from the mobile app and put them on the website.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so that will get you there.
Subsplash.
But the point is that Aaron will be sharing his archaeological research about how the stones are crying out in the land of Israel. The Mount Ebal curse tablet, the footsteps of God, footprints of God on the land. We'll talk maybe about Gilgal Rephaim and that new wheel that was discovered that we visited just north of the Sea of Galilee called Kerbet Bateha.
We may even mention Site 133.
Site 133.
That's super mysterious.
Yeah. Well, the recording session is open to the public and it is free. So if you want to come see the Jim Baker Show, meet us, meet Aaron Lipkin, find out about his tour company, because he coordinates our tours of Israel, and then perhaps join us next spring in Israel.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, but
we will tell you this, that seating is limited. They only have so many tables, so get there early. Get there by 10:30 or so.
Yeah, the recording sessions usually start by noon. They say 11, but usually it's noon-ish before we start.
But there's a restaurant right there. Get yourself a little bit something to eat, and then you can bring it into your table and just wait for the good stuff to start.
Yeah, so that's going to be a really great show, because Aaron is wonderful. He knows his material, and we are just delighted that Jim Baker is going to give him an opportunity to share what he knows with his
Jim's going to love Aaron. Just going to love him.
Absolutely.
He's just so much fun. Also, the end of July.
Yeah, later that week, in fact.
Yeah.
So that's July 25th, and then on the 28th, we will be in Brookville, Ohio. I never said Brookline. You never
just
heard
erase
that. If
that
you say
from your
you
mind.
Heard anything other than Brooklyn,
enough. Don't even say it.
I mean Brookville.
It's Brookville. Don't you keep saying it, and you're going to confuse people. Just say Brookville, Ohio. It's northwest of Dayton.
Right. The Go Therefore Conference, organized by Dr. Mike and Kathy Spalding. We'll be there with L.A. Marzulli, Dr. Michael Lake, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, lots of doctors, Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer, Dr. Gregory Reed, Pastor Casper McLeod, Kenny C., Vicky Joy Anderson, Tom Dunn, David Paxton, Randy Conway from our neck of the woods here, David Hevner, Coach Dave Daubenmeier, and Nathan Brandon will be there as well.
About half of those people are specialists in dealing with demonic oppression.
Yeah.
And if you have ever had a question about it, or you've experienced it, or a loved one has experienced, especially a child, talk to these people. That's what they're there for.
It's a wonderful time. Yes, the sessions, the presentations will be wonderful, but the sessions, in between the sessions, when you get to talk to us, talk to the other speakers, that's really where some friendships are made, ministering is done. And through the Black ministry of Tom Dunn, Vicki Joy Anderson, it's just really amazing. So don't miss this. Seating is limited. This will probably sell out. They can seat probably 500 people. But again, with this kind of a lineup where you've got Marzulli and Lake and Greg Reed and Coach Dave.
I know this is like the old days, pre-COVID sort of lineup. So this won't happen very often. So you need to go.
GoThereforeConference.com. And then if you want to find out more about our tour of Israel, that's at the website as well. Or you can go to gilbertsinisrael.com, gilbertsinisrael.com. Timothy Alberino, our special guest in Israel next year.
Tim and Jazz.
Yeah.
We had to invite Tim in order to get Jasmine to go.
Right. Yeah, she's really the
star.
Yeah.
We love her. They are so cute together.
So looking forward to see, because Tim was very gracious in inviting the two of us to go on the True Legends tour of Italy and then Sardinia to visit the tombs of the giants.
Yep.
So we want to repay him by taking him to see the wheel of the giants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the real Serpent Mound, the big one.
The big one.
Yeah, we need to get LA to go.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That would be fantastic.
Hey, let's find.
Well,
he leads his own.
That's right. Aaron's doing his tour too.
Yeah,
so, yeah. Aaron's got a whole section on his website now dedicated to Nephilim tours.
I love it. That tells you something about Aaron. We love him so much.
Well, anyway, find out more at our website, gilberthouse.org, pidradio.com.
I heard the bread machine in there beeping. Yeah. It's the dough cycle, and I've got to go get it ready and put it in the oven to rise.
Yes, well, get on that tomorrow night on A View from the Bunker. It's Iron and Myth, number 18, with Brian Godawa, Pastor Doug Van Dorn, Dr. Judd Burton, and we will talk about Wheels of the Giants, plural, not just Gilgal Rephaim.
Wheels within wheels.
Yes, and show some video of Kerbet Beteha and aerial images of Site 133.
Speaking of wheels within wheels, do you think that maybe that's an imitation, not just of a maze, but also a throne?
Oh. I had not considered that. Yeah, Ezekiel 1.
Wheels within wheels.
Interesting. More research needed.
Yep.
Well, until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert. Bye-bye, everybody.
PID Radio is an outreach of Gilbert House Ministries, released under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Follow us online, pidradio.com, Twitter @PIDRadio, or by downloading our free app, pidradio.com/app or gilberthouse.org/app. Join us each week for our Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship.